Okay, everyone, welcome back, and we are now on our final part of our blue packet here. So we are going to go ahead and do numbers 1, 6, 8, 14, and 16 together. And I went ahead and wrote out my first step. Remember, this time we're doing variables on both sides here, okay? So anytime you're doing variables on both sides, I always like to first get all my variables on one side, okay? You don't have to necessarily do that, but I think it makes it a little bit more simple later on. So looking over here at number 1, we have 8x plus 5 is equal to 5x minus 10. So again, I'm going to go ahead and put my hearts around my variable terms, and I know those are what I want to combine first, or get on one side first. So I'm going to choose to move that 5x over to my left side, because otherwise I'm going to be dealing with a negative x. So I always look to see which is going to make the most sense to move, and in this case that 5x would make the most sense. So 8x minus 5x, we are left with just 3x. And remember, we have to bring down that plus 5. And we are left with just a negative 10 over here on our right side. So now we're used to this. This is just our regular two-step equation. So now we want to get that variable by itself. So now I'm left with just one variable term. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract my 5 over, because I want that x by itself. And I'm left with 3x is equal to negative 15. And again, remember, anytime you have that number next to a letter, that's multiplying. So to undo that, we have to divide. And we are left with x is equal to negative 5. Again, you can always plug that back in and double check, but you can trust me when I say it is negative 5 for this one. Okay. So moving down here to number 6, we have to use our distributive property. Remember, anytime you have a number next to something in parentheses, you're going to distribute it. So first we're going to do that 3 times x, which is just 3x. Now we have 3 times positive 2, so we have plus 6. Same idea here on our right. We're going to do 2 times x, which is 2x, and 2 times positive 5, which would be plus 10. So again, now that we have it in our simplest form, that's when we can actually start solving for x. So I'm going to put my hearts around my 3x and my 2x. And again, remember, I want to deal with a positive x. So it's going to make more sense for me to move that 2x to the left rather than moving that minus 3x to the right, because that way I would get a negative x. So 3x minus 2x, that's easy. We're left with just 1x. And again, you can write that 1 there, but you don't need to. We have to bring down our plus 6. And we're left with our 10 on the right side. So again, now all we have to do is solve for our x. And to get that by itself, that's pretty easy. We just have to undo adding 6 to it. So we're going to subtract. And we are left with x equals 4. All right, moving down here to number 8. This one, we have to combine like terms. So this is going back to your green packet and your pink packet. So here I see on my left side of my equal sign, I have 2 variable terms that have b in them. So we have 2b and minus 7b. So if we were to combine those, I'll just write it out. So they're next to each other. Remember, just rearranging the order isn't changing anything as long as you keep the same signs. So 2b minus 7b, that's equal to negative 5b. And then bring everything else down. And now we're left with just our regular equations. We want to get our b's all to one side. So again, I'm going to choose to add 5b to both sides, because that way I'm going to be dealing with a positive variable. All right, and so I am left with negative 21 here on the left side of my equal sign. And b plus 5b is going to be equal to 6b. Keep my plus 3. And now we have our regular two-step equation. So again, I want to get that b by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3 on both sides. And I get negative 24 is equal to 6b. Again, ran out of room here. To get that b by itself, all I have to do is divide by 6 to undo multiplying it. And negative 24 divided by positive 6, that's going to result in negative 4 is our B value. Okay. All right. And one more question, or two more questions down here, 14 and 16. Again, here we have a number next to our parentheses, so we're going to do that distributive property again. But be careful, here we have a minus 3, so we have to do negative 3 times 2a. You have to be careful about that negative sign. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6a. And then we also want to do negative 3 times negative 4. So remember, negative times a negative is a positive. So we get plus 12. And now we can see that we have a 9a minus 6a over here on the left, so we can combine those like terms, and we get just 3a. Bring everything else down, and now we're having just a regular solve for a. So we're going to subtract 12 on both sides, and I'm left with 3a is equal to 3. So obviously, we're going to divide by 3 on both sides, and we do get a is equal to 1 here. All right. And last problem we'll do together. Again, we have another distributive property situation. So 3 times x is just 3x. And then we have a 3 times negative 1. Again, be careful of that sign. And now we have our 2x plus 3. So again, I'm going to go ahead and just do some extra practice with that heart method if you want. So I know I have to combine those two things first. So again, I'm going to choose to move that 2x to the left, so I'm dealing with a positive x. 3x minus 2x, you just get x. Bring everything else down, and I'm left with just that 3 there on the right. And this should be very simple. How do I undo subtracting 3 from x? I add 3 on both sides, and I am left with x equals 6 for my final answer here. So I will have the key posted, but again, you are going to be submitting this entire packet to me by the end of the week, and I will be back soon with more videos.